As educators, there's this aha moment we all live for. But what if we could take our students somewhere even deeper, to a place where they genuinely, permanently change how they see the world, and even themselves? It's probably the biggest challenge we face, but honestly, it's also the greatest reward. So, let's get into it.
Okay, so let's just cut to the chase. What does it actually take to change an adult's mind? I don't mean just teaching them a new fact. I mean fundamentally shifting their entire perspective. That's the big question we're going to tackle today, using a really powerful framework for deep, lasting learning.
And the guy who really cracked this code was the sociologist Jack Mezirow. His whole idea, which is just so powerful, is that learning isn't just about cramming facts into your head. It's about how we make meaning out of what happens to us. And when that new meaning actually changes how we act, well, that is when real, honest-to-goodness transformation happens.
So, how do we guide our students through this? Well, we're going to walk through the whole journey, broken down into 5 big stages. Now, Mezirow actually laid out 10 phases, and we'll see how they all fit neatly into these 5 sections. Think of this as our map for the whole trip.
All right, first up, the jolt. See, this whole transformation thing doesn't usually start with a gentle nudge. It starts with a shock to the system. To get why, we've got to first understand how we adults build our worldviews in the first place and what it takes to shake that foundation. This is such a cool way to think about it. Mezirow says our beliefs are structured in 2 ways. You've got the trees. These are your specific everyday beliefs, like, if I work hard, I'll get a promotion. But then you have the forest. That's the whole big picture system of assumptions that shapes everything. True transformation is learning to see the entire forest in a new light. So, what's the spark that lights this fire? Mezirow gave it a fantastic name, the disorienting dilemma. This is some kind of experience. It could be a new job, a tough class, anything really, that just does not compute with our existing worldview. It creates this inner conflict that we just have to solve. And that feeling, that's the engine that drives the whole process.
And this wasn't some abstract theory he cooked up in an ivory tower. It actually came from watching his own wife, Edie, go through this exact thing. When she went back to school in her 40s, she felt completely lost, which challenged everything she thought about herself. Her very real, very personal disorienting dilemma became the inspiration for his entire theory.
Okay, so the jolt has happened. The world feels a little off kilter. What's next? Well, the journey turns inward. That dilemma has cracked open the door, and now the really tough internal work of self-reflection begins. And this, right here, is where we as educators become so important.
This whole stage is about taking a hard look in the mirror. It starts with self-examination, where a student asks, why am I feeling so weird about this? What belief is being challenged? And that leads right into a critical assessment, where they start picking apart those deep-seated assumptions they've held forever. It's like putting their own brain on the witness stand.
So what's our job here? This is absolutely crucial. We're not here to give answers. Our job is to create a safe space where it's okay to question things. We can offer up different viewpoints through articles, guest speakers, you name it, and help our learners figure out for themselves what it is they need to learn next.
And then, something amazing happens. A learner looks around and realizes, wait a minute, I'm not the only one feeling this way. Discovering that your confusion, your discontent, is actually a shared experience, wow, that is incredibly powerful. It validates everything they're feeling. And we, as educators, can make this happen. This is where real, honest dialogue becomes your superpower. You set up discussions, group projects, anything that gets them talking and, more importantly, listening to each other. That's how you build a community where they realize they're all in it together. All right, so we've done the deep, soul-searching part. Now the energy shifts. We stop looking back at what was, and we start looking forward, actually planning out a new way of thinking and being. And this planning phase breaks down into 3 really clear steps. First, they just explore options. What could I do differently? Then they get more concrete and actually plan a course of action. And finally, they start acquiring the new knowledge and skills they'll need to pull it off. And guess what? Our role changes again. We go from being a facilitator of reflection to being more of a resource, a strategist. We're the ones pointing them to the right books, connecting them with people in the field, helping them map out their learning journey. We're basically their transformation consultant. Okay, here we go. This is the main event. Because all the thinking and planning in the world doesn't mean a thing until you do something. This is where learners have to take all these new ideas and test them out in the real world. Mezirow called this trying new roles, and it is all about getting your hands dirty. It's not enough to think about being a better leader, you have to actually try to lead the group project. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's pure, hands-on, experiential learning.
And as they try things out, and yeah, maybe they stumble a bit, something magical happens. They start to build real confidence. Every time they try out their new perspective and it works, it reinforces the change. It's the proof they need that this new way of being is not just possible, but better.
So, what are we now? We're the coach. We're on the sidelines cheering them on. We set up the practice sessions, the simulations, the projects, and we create an environment where it's safe to take a risk. And when they succeed, we're right there to give them a high five and reinforce how far they've come.
And so we come to the final leg of this incredible journey. The transformation has happened, but now it's time to make it stick. This last stage is all about integrating that new perspective so it becomes a permanent part of who they are.
This last step is what Mezirow called reintegration. This is where the new way of seeing the world isn't new anymore. It's just who they are. It's fully baked in. They step back into their lives, but as a changed person, with a more open, more complex, and more integrated point of view.
And look at what they gain from all this hard work. The payoff is huge. This isn't just about learning one subject. It's about becoming a better problem solver, being more adaptable to change, and gaining a massive boost in self-awareness and confidence. They walk away with a fundamentally better way of navigating the world. So let's just boil it all down. What does this mean for us, the educators? We're the guides. Our job changes at every stage, from creating safe spaces for reflection, to acting as a strategist, to being a coach on the sidelines. Our ultimate goal is just to create the conditions where this amazing transformation can happen. And that brings us to a final and maybe the most important question, one for you to take away. Since this whole thing kicks off with a jolt, I want you to think about this. What powerful, perspective-shifting, disorienting dilemma could you intentionally design for your learners tomorrow?